kids do their demos, and I'm watching my little cousin go up and get her belt. And actually, my other little cousin, her sister, was getting her junior belt that night. So the whole family was there. And the people that owned the school were old family friends. They went back a long ways. You know, we had our own history, and I knew them, they knew me. And so I was kind of like, well, I'm here, I'm not doing anything. I'd like to get back into karate, at least train it again. It'd be nice. It's something I know I can do. It's getting me back in shape. I was like 3 times the size I am right now. And so I approached the 2 people that own the school, and I said, you know, do you mind if I came in and started training with you guys, with Don and Paige? Those are my cousins. And they were like, yeah, you know, absolutely. So I went in, I was training for about 2 months. I had no money to pay for classes. I had actually given my old used car to the kid who ran the school as payment for like a year. I was like, you need a car, I'll give you my car, let me take classes. He was like, yeah, sure, no big deal. So I was walking to classes, but I had no car. But so I was getting there, I was training, and he ended up getting into you know, his own thing. He got arrested, and you know, long story short, he was gone for 90 days at least. And his mother was competent, you know, she's a smart lady, she ran the school, but she was more of a behind the scenes. She was a black belt, she was more of a behind the scenes type owner. She was getting older, she didn't like being on the floor, it wasn't her cup of tea. And she had nobody else to help teach. And so she asked me, like, would you be interested in helping teach a class here and there or whatever? And I was like, yeah, absolutely, you know, anything I can do. Family ties and all, like, just let me know. I hadn't even caught up with the curriculum, the katas, I don't know if katas mean anything to you guys, but the forms, the moves, I was still catching up, I was still getting back in the swing. And, and so I started teaching classes, and there was one day, I'll never forget it. There's a kid on the floor. I don't know if he had some kind of like developmental issue, or if he just was a little troubled kid, whichever. You know, I kind of gave you guys my backstory. I'm in no position to judge anybody, and so he's getting like screamed at by this lady. Who, I mean, like I said, she was a great lady, but teaching and dealing with children, it wasn't her thing. And he's getting like reamed out, and he's like, after she's done chewing him out, you know, he's kind of standing there trying to fight back the tears, like. And so I went over to him, and I was just like, okay, let's hash it out. Let's see where you went wrong, what we can do to fix it. And all of a sudden, I found myself relating to this kid, because he wasn't a bad kid, he just didn't have the guidance that he needed, you know. Every person in here, out there, wherever, you know, we all have our own issues, we all deal with them in our own way. And, you know, his way to deal with them was to be the class clown. Mine too, you know. It's a coping mechanism sometimes. And so where he was being yelled at for being, you know, the punk in class, I was able to relate to him and say, this kid, you're no worse than Sensei Bobby was. I could tell you stories. And all of a sudden there was more and more kids like that, and you know, those tears were turning into laughs, and you could see them making progress and getting better and listening and focusing better. And I started to realize that, you know, maybe this is what I should do. Maybe this is what I'm good at. Like, maybe I should reach out and help these kids out. Because, you know, some of them might be punks, but nobody's going to out-punk me. And so I slowly but surely, I started teaching more and more classes until, you know, a couple years down the road, I was ready I was ready to open, I felt like I was ready to open my own school. And so I did, and that's where I am today. And it's just, it amazes me to this day to see how what seems like such a little thing to me, so many other people don't grasp it, they don't get it. And not that they don't get it, it's just, to each his own. But kids and adults and just people in general, they just want to be related to. Like, I mean, who's not their own boss? Who has a boss at work? Anybody? Okay, lots of people have bosses. Nobody wants their boss to bark at them and tell them they dropped the ball or that their work is terrible or something like that. It's much more constructive to like Jim was saying, reinforce the positives. Everybody has something inside that is positive, that is good. Nobody is just, wholly bad at everything and not smart, and, So I adopted this approach when I'm teaching kids and when I'm teaching adults and whoever I'm teaching, and it kind of transformed me into, this is just how I carry myself and how I speak to people and how I treat people every day. You can't accentuate the negatives in someone in their life. That's only going to get them to dwell on the negatives. You have to accentuate the positives and use that to help overcome, the negatives. I mean, I'll give you an example. I have one kid who's still with me today, and he was there the first day I started teaching karate. When I started, he was 6 years old. And he had mild autism and sensory issues, wouldn't listen, couldn't get him to talk when he didn't want to talk. He couldn't be, and he had pretty severe sensory issues, like he couldn't be around a balloon at like holiday parties and stuff, because if the balloon popped, he didn't know how to deal with that loud sound that just, boom, all of a sudden he would curl up, couldn't handle it. And he used to get yelled at and in a lot of trouble because he didn't know how to express himself, he didn't know how to talk to people, he didn't know how to say, I mean, first of all, he's 6. How many 6-year-olds are the poet laureate? They're not going to be able, they're not out there talking like an adult, but second of all, he had these issues, and he used to get in a lot of trouble for not following directions and stuff like that. And if you met this kid today, you wouldn't know who I was talking about. He's on the floor every day. He teaches. He helps me teach some of my classes. He's a national champion in local and regional karate tournaments and fighting and forms and weapons. Where before he was almost nonverbal. Like, you couldn't get him to talk. And part of it is just growing up and getting better and learning the ways of the world. And part of it is having the right support and the right, the right support structure behind you. And, I was lucky. I mean, like I said, I battled my demons and I had my issues. And no matter what I did wrong, no matter how many days I was not at the house and not calling home and nobody knew where I was, I could go home and my grandmother would, slap me upside the head a couple times. But she'd always, she'd always love me the next day. She'd always have my back. She'd always tell me that I could be anything I wanted to be if I put my mind to it, and I could always, and she always told me I could, I was the smartest little perfect boy in the whole world. And, I think kids need that. I think everybody needs to hear that. I think everybody needs to hear, you can do it. There's nothing stopping you but yourself. I'm not going to, fly off the roof, but to an extent, if there's something you want and that you feel like there's something holding you back and you feel down, I can't do this. I want to go back to school. I want to get a degree. I want to get my black belt. I want to run a marathon. I want to, whatever you want to do, you can do it, you know? People have physical limitations, but there's ways around it. There's ways to train yourself. There's the biggest hurdle we have in anything is ourselves. And if you have confidence in yourself, you can do anything you want. I truly believe that. I'm a firm believer. I feel like I'm proof. My dream when I was a little kid, you know, I wanted to be, and it's kind of a messed up dream for a little kid to have, mind you, but I wanted to fight. I wanted to be in a ring. You know, I did karate my whole life. I wanted to be, you know, if I wasn't going to be the next Stone Cold Steve Austin pro wrestler in the WWF, I was going to be, you know, Rocky, where I was going to be in the ring. I was going to be in front of people. And, you know, I just, over the years, I gained weight. I was out of shape. I couldn't do it. I felt like I couldn't do it. Nobody was telling me I could do it. And then last year I was training, I got in shape, and all of a sudden I said, it's not that big of a deal. So I got in the ring, and I successfully, you know, accomplished my dreams. And that's kind of what I wanted to say tonight. I'm sorry it took more than 10 minutes to say it, but you can do anything you want, and your kids can do anything they want, and your grandkids can do anything they want if they put their mind to it, and if they believe in themselves, and if they have the right backing to make them believe in themselves. That's what the quote's all about. And thank you. Thank you very much.